I don't know how you stumbled upon this page and signed up, but I know why you're here. It almost seems that the people that get attracted to our masterclasses are meant to be here, because every time we finish broadcasting one of these talks, we get sent literally thousands of emails from people who heard just the right bit of information they needed to hear at this point in their lives to create a shift. So thank you for showing up. My name is Vishen Lakhiani. I'm the host of Mindvalley, and I've been doing this for almost a decade. But this masterclass means a lot to me because the man that I'm bringing on, Michael Beckwith, has had a profound impact on my life. See, I've always believed that the number one skill you can teach someone is the idea and the skill of using their mind to create their reality. And I'm sure you've heard of this. The world's best-selling DVD, The Secret, was based on this idea. Thousands of books have been written on this idea. You've heard words like manifesting and law of attraction and creative visualization. And for the last 20 years or so, from the time I was in college, like many of you, I started dabbling and playing with these ideas. It was only recently, mind you, after around 2 decades, that it all started to click together. And I realized that so much of what I was searching for in the past was merely kindergarten personal growth. This masterclass is going to be one of the most advanced discussions you ever hear on this idea of the mind impacting reality. And for the last 4 years, we knew that Mindvalley wanted to create a program on this topic, and we scoured the world for the best teachers. After going through some 10 different teachers and instructors, we decided that today's guest, Michael Beckwith, had the best way of sharing these ideas, the most compelling and enhanced models that our audience should learn, and personally had the biggest impact on my life. And so I'm so honored to bring you Michael Beckwith. Now let me tell you why this class is going to be possibly not what you expect. Okay, so I know that many of you are here because you want to learn to manifest. You want to learn to be able to use your mind to apply a tool like creative visualization to create your goals and bring them into reality, to create synchronicities and coincidences and random encounters that move you ahead in life. But what if that was simply one level of understanding and there's a level way beyond? In this class, Michael Beckwith is going to share with you some interesting ideas. These ideas shifted the way I approach my life, my career, my functioning in the world. The first idea is true manifesting versus manifesting. You see, we often believe that we want to manifest the goals or the outcomes that we want in life, but as Beckwith is going to share, true manifesting is a lot deeper. True manifesting is where you're not just attracting things to you, but you are evolving into the ideal version of yourself. You're evolving into who your soul desires you to be. And this subtle shift changes everything. Now, the second idea is equally powerful. It is wanting versus immature wanting. It is the idea that so often what we want to manifest is what parental pressure, society, culture tells us we should have, but not, I repeat, not what our soul wants us to have. And so we want what we shouldn't have, and we ignore what our soul really wants to bring into our life. What if, before you put out an intention, before you decided that you wanted something in your life, you could check in and get a compass reading on whether this is right for you? Michael Beckwith, I quote, has said, "Do not blindly go into intention. Rather, let inspiration lead to your intention." That is the second key idea we're going to be exploring. And the third one is a powerful one. I've heard so many people, some of the most remarkable, smartest, intelligent people in the world, talk about this. And it is the idea of surrendering. Now, this idea, I'd say about 10 years ago, would have been too radical. But ever since books like The Surrender Experiment emerged, I'm hearing more and more billionaires and highly successful people talk about how they seem to tap into the state of being where they surrender and the universe gives them more than what they could conceive with their own mind. What if you could get there? we're going to show you how. So this masterclass is going to take about an hour, maybe a little bit more. We don't script these conversations perfectly. Michael is going to get into his brilliant state of being Michael and channel and share his profound wisdom. We may go over time, but what I want to ask you to do is to make sure that you have your journal ready, you've printed out the workbook, you're ready to take notes, and you're ready to fully participate. Mentally check in now and tell yourself that you're ready to fully participate. Good. I also want you to know that this masterclass is going to deliver extreme value. So take good notes and reflect upon them. And for those of you who want to go deeper, know that this masterclass is really the first part of a 30-day program that we've created with Michael. So this masterclass is going to teach you a ton. And when you go for the 30-day program, that's going to take you into true mastery, where it almost seems as if the old ideas of law of attraction and manifesting is kindergarten stuff. You're in graduate level or PhD level. And that is where the full intentions of your soul come to you effortlessly. Now, let me tell you about our guest today. Michael Beckwith is a living legend. For 33 years, he has run the Agape Spiritual Center, a trans-dominational spiritual community built on diversity and inclusivity. I go to Agape sessions often when I'm in LA, and I'm always blown away by the colors, the music, the diversity of speakers in the field. And Michael Beckwith isn't just a legend on stage at Agape. He has received several awards for his humanitarian efforts, including the 2016 Illuminate Film Festival Conscious Visionary Award, because Michael Beckwith has been in more spiritual movies than any other teacher. Not even Deepak Chopra has been in as many spiritual movies as Michael Beckwith. He is a frequent guest on Larry King, Live, CNN, Dr. Oz, and Oprah. He was named on Oprah's Super Soul 100 list of visionaries and influential leaders. His outreach programs are taking place all over the world. Michael was just telling me about this lady in Guyana who takes kids on a bus and drive them for 2 hours to a place where they have internet access so they can watch the global broadcast of his talks from the Agape Spiritual Center in LA. How cool is that? Beckwith is also the international co-chair of the Gandhi King Season for Nonviolence, which was launched at the UN in 1998 and is active in 900 cities and 67 countries. But more than that, what I appreciate about Michael is that his ideas have truly changed my life. We are filming this masterclass in Portugal, where Mindvalley is launching our annual festival called A-Fest. 3 years ago, Michael Beckwith spoke at another A-Fest in 2016. Like you, listening to Beckwith today, I was in that audience. And Michael delivered a 1-hour talk that was so mesmerizing that there was 5 minutes of that talk, 5 minutes that changed my life for good. It changed my daily habit because he knocked me sideways with an insight. I was so touched by what Michael Beckwith did for me in that talk in 5 minutes. It probably became the 5 minutes of that entire 5-day event that most shifted me. I wrote a check of $15,000 to the Agape Spiritual Center because of those 5 minutes. That's how much 5 minutes meant to me, because you made a decision today to show up and attend this class. I cannot wait for you to meet your future self. Michael has had such a profound influence on the world. This is what some people have said about him. Famous actress Hilary Swank said, "He's a beacon of inspiration, fills the soul, and reminds us why we are here, to shine our light." Oprah, I'm sure all of you know Oprah, said, "He unlocks everything that is unique, mighty, and magnificent inside all of us." Deepak Chopra said, "He eloquently unfolds the secrets of deep inquiry for spiritual development, which leads to infinite possibilities in our lives." Let's give a big, warm welcome to Michael Beckwith.
Thank you, Vision.
So, Michael, thank you so much. It's such an honor to have you here, and even just having lunch with you and breakfast, preparing for this class, I learned a ton. So it's always awesome to have you on the Mindvalley set.
It's my joy to always be with you. You bring such enthusiasm, such inspiration, and such power. It's always good to hang out with you.
So, Michael, what is the insight that you know and you feel you would like to share today?
First of all, I'm getting a sense of all the people who are tuning in right now, and I can feel an inner yearning of their soul, whether they're conscious of it or not. There's a yearning for something within them to come forward, to express themselves. And though they may be imprinted with society values and their mind may be focused on conditions or circumstances, there's something within them that's bigger than all of that. And the reason why they tuned in today, because they heard that something, and it pulled them to be here. And what I want them to know is if they give a little bit of time to it, nurture it, pay attention to it, it will take over their life. And it will come into their life in such a way that they won't even recognize themselves. That the gifts, the powers, the sense of peace and assurance, this is not a life insurance program, it's a life assurance program, where they can begin to live life assured that the universe is progressive, that their legitimate needs can be met, that there's no circumstance or condition or situation that can keep them from realizing their authenticity and expressing it fully and completely. This is a great moment for everyone that's tuning in. I feel it in my bones. So along those lines, individuals have arrived on this planet to not walk in status quo, to not walk in history, but to make history. And so oftentimes people have learned how to navigate within that which was here before they got here, but that's not why they arrived here. They've arrived here to expand the paradigm, to shift the status quo, not to be locked into it. Now, if you go an entire human incarnation and all you've done is live the status quo, you've wasted an incarnation. The gifts, the talents, the capacities that are within you, they've remained latent. We're not here for that. We're here for great news to be expressed, which means shattering the status quo, shattering our previously held patterns that we have been imprinted with, and to live a life that right now is even hard to imagine, but it's within us anyway.
Now, I think that's a beautiful idea. But what about the people here who are not here necessarily because they need to do something massive? They're here because they're hurting, and there's some part of their life that they need to fix. Say, for example, the woman who's struggling with her ex-husband for alimony. Because there's always people here who need to first fix some aspect of their life that's holding them back before they can go forth and shatter the status quo.
Right, right. You're talking about people who need a healing first,
right,
before they can move on. Let me just say, first of all, whenever we evolve, then the problems we have at one level of consciousness don't exist at a higher level of awareness. So we're here to evolve, and that heals the issue. For instance, you talk about a woman who needed alimony. There was a woman that came to me, and she walked into my door for counseling, and she said, Michael, I don't want to hear any of that forgiveness stuff. I don't want to hear any of that spiritual mambo jumbo. I want my husband to pay me the alimony and the child support that I deserve. And I want you to use your mind and to make him do that. I know you can do this. and she sat down and we began to counsel, but she tied my hands. She said, don't talk to me about spiritual stuff. Don't talk to me about forgiveness. Just use your mind to make this happen. So within those constraints, I began to speak to her about the possibilities that lied within her. I began to affirmatively pray for her and her former husband. Now, a couple of days later, she called me. She'd had a dream. And in this dream, she woke up and she started walking down her hallway. And she took the picture of her former husband off the wall and she put a picture of God up.
This was in the dream?
This was in the dream. So she called me and she said, what does this mean? And I said, it looks to me as if it means you're removing your husband as your source of supply and you're putting the higher power up. That there's something bigger than all of us that takes care of us, that wants to move through us, that wants to express through us. So the dream is telling you that you're to take your attention off your husband. We're not letting him off the hook. He owes you alimony, he owes you child support. But you're now to place your attention on the higher power that's within you. So I want you to think about that. Just contemplate that. So she began to do that. Subsequently, a friend of hers invited her to lunch with a friend of her friends. She got into a good conversation, and the individual that was at lunch asked her what she did, what her talents were. He liked her personality. Make a long story short, this man hired her. and was paying her more money than she'd ever made in her life. Subsequently, after that, her husband started not only paying the back child support, but gave her more than what the court ordered. So because she shifted her attention to the higher power that was within her, took her attention off of trying to make something happen with her husband, not only did more prosperity flow in her life, not only did a creative zeal begin to move through her and tap in talents that she forgot she even had, her husband began to pay her more than she'd even asked for. You see? So, yeah, something needed to be healed. Mainly, her perception. Where does her good come from? It comes from within us. Where does the prosperity come from? It comes from within her. Where does that happiness come from? It comes from within her. So she evolved, shifted, her life changed.
And that is really a key part of what you're going to be talking about. That when it comes to this whole thing of thoughts creating reality, a lot of it is an internal shift.
Yes.
And that, for those of you who are watching, is a key insight here. What is going to be the biggest, most beautiful unfolding of your life? What is that sole purpose of yours? Is possibly not something you're seeing right now. Because so many people get trapped into the rules and the ideas and the wants and the intentions, which are not from inside them, but from the voices around them.
Absolutely. You know, when we're born, we're imprinted with everything that's going around in our society. We have familiar imprint, we have societal imprint, we have emotional contagion of what's going on in the world. And our first few years of life, we're learning how to navigate through that imprint. You know, we learn how to adjust, how to adapt, how to survive. And then sometimes a crisis will happen that allows us to see that we've just been living a life too small. We've been living a life, as we talked about earlier, of status quo. And that really the life we're meant to live is beyond our present paradigm of the way we've been imprinted. And we're here to break free from that. And when that dynamic begins to be activated within us, there's nothing on heaven on earth that can stop one's destiny.
That reminds me of a quote by the writer Joe Vitale, who echoes what you said. Joe said, "Intention is for wimps. Inspiration must lead to intention."
Absolutely.
So I want you to do this for a moment. I'm going to give you a minute. I want you to take out a pencil, and on your journal or on your book or on a worksheet, I want you to just think, is there an idea of who you are meant to be floating at the back of your head that you're maybe postponing? You're maybe postponing because you feel it's unrealistic, or it doesn't seem to be a goal that excites your significant others, or it's something that you're questioning or doubting if you can really do. What is that emerging idea of self at the back of the head that you sense might be part of your destiny? Write that down. Could be one, two, several things. We're going to come back to those in a moment. Thank you. Now I want you to put that aside and listen to what you're going to hear next. Michael Beckwith is now going to talk about 4 stages of spiritual growth, development, and unfoldment. This framework really shifted how I dealt with the emerging self, the emerging identity. So this is going to be a really key part of this class. Back to you, Michael.
There's a model that I created a number of years ago that allows us to speak into growth, development, and unfoldment. And I call it the 4 stages of spiritual growth and unfoldment. Now, of course, we're infinite, so there are more than 4, but this gives us a context to dive deep into dialogue and discussion and to mine insights and revelations. So the first stage is the stage of the victim. This is the stage in which we believe something outside of ourself determines our happiness, our destiny. It can be society, it can be parents, it can be God, devil, astrology, whatever the case may be. But there's something out there that's doing something to us. And you'll hear people speak from this stage many times, why me? Why is God doing this to me? Why is this happening again? It's not my fault. It's somebody else is to blame for my life experience. We hear this a lot. And so that's the victim stage. And interestingly enough, so many people live in that stage, and many people live in that stage in certain parts of their life. Like in some areas of their life, they may feel very masterful, but in other areas, they feel victimized, you see. So in this victim stage, people are forcefully trying to make things happen. They don't know why nothing changes in their life, and they have a big blame story as to why their life isn't quote unquote working.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? You can be really spiritually developed, and you can still fall into the victim stage. I realized yesterday I fell into the victim stage. I was like, why doesn't this friend of mine respond to my messages, right? And Alan Watts has a funny story about this. I literally saw someone share this on Instagram today, but I felt it was so profound. I almost felt that the universe needed me to hear it. So I want to share it with you. Wanting positive experience is a negative experience. Accepting negative experience is a positive experience. It's what philosopher Alan Watts refers to as the backwards law, the idea that the more you pursue feeling better all the time, the less satisfied you become, as pursuing something only reinforces the fact that you lack it in the first place. Now this, folks, is one of the reasons why so many people have a hard time with this idea of manifesting. But this idea of the backwards law, the victim stage, goes deeper. The more you desperately want to be rich, the more poor and unworthy you feel, regardless of how much money you actually make. The more you desperately want to be sexy and desired, the uglier you come to see yourself, regardless of what you really look like. The more you desperately want to be happy and loved, the lonelier and more afraid you become, regardless of those around you. The more you want to be spiritually enlightened, the more self-centered and shallow you become in trying to get there. And this, would you say, is the victim stage?
Yeah, your victim stage, and your attention is on lack. Your intent, the way he's describing that, your attention is on what you don't have. You're constantly in pursuit of it, and so you're creating a resistance to it because your belief is, I don't have it. I'm not happy, I'm not prosperous, I'm not attractive, I'm not beautiful, and so you're trying to pursue this thing, and in this pursuit, you're creating resistance to what's within you trying to emerge. So it is the backwards law. He's describing that perfectly.
So the victim stage is what we get trapped into,
Yes.
right? When we are blaming or feeling helpless. But there is a stage beyond that.
Absolutely.
What you call the manifester consciousness stage.
Right.
Talk about
now
that.
the manifester stage is where we learn about the laws of the universe. We learn that thoughts are units of mental energy that transmute themselves into speech, behavior, perception, and experience. This is where we learn about affirmation, declaration, decrees. We learn about creative visualization. We learn about the right use of the imagination. We learn how to take our imaginal realm back from worst-case scenarios and to begin to imagine a different kind of life. It's a beautiful, wonderful stage that sets us up for further growth, development, and unfoldment. And people begin to notice in this stage how often they imagine worst-case scenarios, how often they visualize the very things they don't want to happen in their life. And oftentimes, people learn at this particular stage that they pay more attention to what they don't want than to what they do want. And so it becomes a stage in which you begin to exercise your language, your conversation. You exercise your intentionality. You exercise your imaginal skills until you have a greater sense of belief that life is for you and not against you. You're coming out of being victimized. Oh, look what life is doing to me. Look what God is doing to me. Look what my parents did to me. To, oh, life is on my side. You know, the universe is on my side. It's progressive. It's for me, you see. That's the manifester stage. And here you learn how to manifest, you see. But some people, they get stuck in that stage, or they don't really embrace that there's something within them that's trying to emerge. And so they basically stay on the surface of it. And they manifest, they declare, they decree things. But sometimes those things, as you know, that they're declaring and decreeing, are not really what their soul wants.
Right, and that's why you find so many people who are incredibly wealthy, but miserable.
Absolutely.
Right? And the important thing is, this is only stage 2.
Yes.
So when that movie, The Secret, came out, and you were in The Secret,
Yes.
And Oprah and everyone else was talking about this movie, and it sold 500 DVDs. That was really helping
500
people.
million.
500 million. 500 million DVDs. That was really people going from stage 1, which is life is happening to me,
Right.
to stage 2, which is life is happening by me.
Yes.
Right? But there's a stage 3 and a stage 4.
Right.
And that's the advanced level. That's where we want to take you. But before we talk about stage 3 and stage 4, look, if I'm able to make life happen by me, what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it, nothing inherently wrong with it, but as you said, you've met people who have so many things in the world, but aren't happy. There's no sense of peace, there's agitation, there's anxiety, there's worry, there's doubt, there's fear, you see. And so they're not really living the life of full-on peace of mind, creativity, generosity, kindness, compassion, beauty. It's not there. They've got a lot of stuff. They've mastered a law of manifestation, just as an individual could master hitting a fastball and becoming a great baseball player, but have the rest of his life in shambles, you see. And so you can master laws, but it doesn't necessarily mean your soul is unfolding. Doesn't necessarily mean you're mining the deep capacities of your being and setting them free. So there's nothing wrong, inherently wrong with it. It's just a stage, you see?
Right.
But it was never without a deep surrender into who I was becoming rather than what I was trying to get. Stage 2 is sometimes what I'm trying to get. Stage 3, you move into what you're becoming. It's the real manifestation right there. You get, you let, you have, you share, you see. So you cut your teeth on stage 2. You learn the principles. You must learn the laws. But then something begins to happen. A deep and an abiding trust begins to take place. When you realize that things don't just happen, they happen just. Things aren't just happening in your life. They're happening because of the law, that your thoughts are a certain way, your chronic thoughts, your chronic emotions, and you realize, oh, I'm the author of this. And you begin to change that, then it becomes easier to move into stage 3. Stage 3 is the stage of being a channel or an opening or a place. You've come to realize that life itself never compromises itself, never contradicts itself, never works against itself. Life is alive, teeming with infinite potential, infinite possibility. And life wants to know itself as each and every one of us. It wants to come into a full expression of the love and the beauty and the joy and the harmony and the affluence and the abundance. Life is for us. So when you start going into stage 3, you become a channel for life to express itself. There's an utter yielding within us, an allowing, a letting go. Stage 2 is primarily masculine. I'm going to make it happen with my mind. Stage 3 is primarily feminine. I'm going to allow it to occur. Why? Because it's already happening. It's already happening cosmically. I'm localizing a cosmic activity, you see. So I'm not just over here, this little old guy trying to make something happen. Now I've surrendered to the will of life, which is for more life, and I'm allowing it to express it through me. Unlimited power, unlimited creativity, unlimited energy, you see. So by me, limited, through me, unlimited. By me, masculine, through me, feminine, you see. And so stage 3 is where I think the tipping point is now, because people have studied that stage 2, the manifests. How many books are there on the law of attraction? How many books out there are
Literally hundreds.
Everybody's has been talking about that. Now, the tipping point is moving and reclaiming surrender, reclaiming allowing, reclaiming letting, but not from the old concept of it. You're not surrendering to negativity, you're not acquiescing, or giving up to negativity or a condition. You're surrendering to something within you that wants to emerge. You can't even imagine. I remember a few years ago, I was facilitating a meeting with His Holiness the Dalai Lama with the world leaders. And in the middle of that, my thought went to, how did I get here? How did that young boy that grew up on Orange Drive get here sitting with His Holiness the Dalai Lama facilitating this meeting? You know, it was just like, and I could see my moments of surrender in my life. Now, that wasn't on a vision board. I'm going to sit with the Holiness the Dalai Lama one day. No, it was never on my vision board. But unfoldment after unfoldment after unfoldment put me in a space where I got to give service in this wonderful and powerful way with this wonderful and powerful man. When we live at that level, we can't even sometimes comprehend yet, because it's outside of our present paradigm, what's trying to come forward. But we yield to it with the awareness of what we've learned in stage 2, that life is for us and lawful.
Amazing. And that's just stage 3.
Yes.
And I remember I first learned that from you in 2015, and it blew my mind. It shifted my life. This is why I refer to Michael so often in my book, The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. That's powerful. And I remember in 2015 when we were talking, you also explained to me why this graph was so important, and I wanted to share it with the audience here. You said, when one can see this as a roadmap, we are better in control of our conscious evolution. We know where we can go. It's like a map of understanding our potential. And that's why understanding these 4 stages is so important. So let me recap for a moment. Stage 1 is life is happening to me. It's victim consciousness. Stage 2 is life is happening by me. It's manifestor consciousness. Stage 3, which is this shift that's happening in the world right now, almost 20 years since you appeared in that movie, The Secret, is life is happening through me. And that is channel consciousness.
Right.
You are not setting out visions or intentions based on what you think you know. You are channeling them from what is the universe or your soul's intention for who you are to become.
Yes.
But that is still only the 3rd stage.
It's a very high stage, though.
It's a very high stage. Tell us about the 4th stage.
Yeah. The 4th stage is a state of being where the sense of separation between you and life has dissolved. And you realize that you're at one with life, that you are an emanation of this life. Just as a wave is an emanation of the ocean, the sunbeam is an emanation of the sun. Same quality as the sun. The heat, the luminosity, not separate. If a sunbeam were to be separate from the sun, it would cease to exist. So we're emanations of life. You can call that life God. You can call it love, intelligence, beauty, whatever name you want to give this. It's a presence that's never an absence. It doesn't come and go. You don't have to pray for it to come here because it's everywhere, because it's omnipresent, it's omniscient, it's omnipotent, you see. And so you have moments in meditation, moments when you're visioning, in which this sense of separation dissolves, and you realize that your life is indeed the life of this presence. Now, of course, that may happen for some for a nanosecond, many seconds, an hour, periods of time. But once you've tasted it, nothing ever satisfies after that. Once you've seen the luminosity of your own being and the light of your own soul, everything else pales in significance. That doesn't mean, of course, that you're not going to do anything in the world. It's really the opposite. That once you taste your potential, you taste who you are, you have more to give, more is demanded of you, more creativity wants to flow through you, more generosity, more kindness, greater prosperity. But it's with a sense of non-attachment. It's different.
How many people in the world, like what percentage of the population do you think is at stage 3 and stage 4, if you had to guess?
It's a very small percentage of the population. You have the majority of the population is still in victim consciousness, survival, and carrying a blame story. And then you have a larger group in stage 2, primarily based on the fact that over the last 20, 30 years, there's been a lot of teaching, a lot of metaphysical teaching. And then there's a smaller percentage in the areas of surrender, stage 3. It's increasing, though, because people are learning the art and science of meditation. They're learning the efficacy that meditation is not woo-woo. You know, it's actually creates hemispheric coherence, activates the cortex so that you can actually see the invisible, hear the inaudible. You know, so there's much more people rising in that. Stage 4, probably a less percentage. But people are starting to have insights, and people are doing extraordinary things to try to get that sense of connection, you know, plant medicine, whatever the case they may be doing, you know. But I would say majority of people in victim, the next group of people in stage 2, and then there's a handful, you know, there's a nice percentage in stage 3 and then a lesser percentage in stage 4.
So now I want to ask you a question. What stage do you think you're at? 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 2.5, 3.3. What stage do you think you're at? Write it down. Okay, now I want to share with you this insight. Ken Wilber, the great philosopher, our mutual friend, said that whenever we see a roadmap of consciousness, we will always assume ourselves to be one stage higher than where we actually are. So if you wrote down 3.3, you're possibly at 2.3. I know that sounds hard to hear, but I was like this as well. 4 years ago, when you first shared this with me, I'm like, I'm at stage 3. No, I wasn't. I was not at stage 3. We always assume we are one stage higher than what we think we are. There's a psychological study on this. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. It always says that until you get a lot of wisdom, you always think you're smarter than you are. But the more you know how much you don't know.
That's right.
And so I think I'm slowly moving into stage 3, and I'm learning to stay there. Very often I drop to stage 2. Sometimes I drop to stage 1. And if I'm dropping like that, and so my goal is to stay at stage 3 more consistently, I know that it's a lot more nuanced than what we make it out to be. And so don't overestimate where you might be, because that immediately slows down your learning. I want you to just be open to the idea that there's a lot of nuance to this. There's a lot of mastery that you can move into to get to stage 3 and stay there more consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also need to remind them that the stages aren't linear, which means in one area of your life, you may be very masterful. In another area of your life, you may be living in victim consciousness. And so you just have to be aware that you may wake up one day and you're working on some area of your life and you may feel very victimized by the world. You may be working on another area of your life and you feel, I'm in the zone. It's flowing. And so you don't want to beat yourself up wherever you are. You just want to be aware of where you are and then use the tools necessary to grow.
And so we're going to come to the 8 life structures, the 8 areas of life. And what you'll see is that you are at different stages in these 8 areas. So stay tuned for that. Now, 3 powerful ideas that I want you to take home, because these ideas are shifters. When you meditate on these ideas, when these ideas hit you, you start elevating in terms of your stage. The first one, Michael, that we spoke about is the difference between true manifesting and manifesting.
Right. Manifesting is what we do at the lower levels of stage 2. First of all, we're always manifesting. It's just a default. Right now, whatever thoughts we're having, whatever our chronic thinking is, it's manifesting as either tonic or toxic chemicals in the body. We're either expanding our immune system or we're shrinking it. We either have a level of coherence around the brain or we don't. So we're always manifesting on a certain level. Now, as we begin to grow, we have a tendency sometimes to have immature, we manifest at a very low level. We just want things, but we don't know why we want them, you see. True manifestation occurs when there's actually a shift on the soul level. There's actually a change that takes place. So I may want something in my life and I seek to manifest it, but it's actually being impelled by a desire to be more myself. I just don't want a thing. I actually want to be better, a better version of myself, the next stage of my evolution. So if you remember the statement, seek first the kingdom of God and everything else will be added, then when you're truly manifesting, you're seeking first this realm of ever-increasing good in your own life, and you actually have a fundamental shift in your character. And you still get the stuff, but the stuff isn't what's making you happy. The happiness is your intrinsic nature being set free, you see. So it's a both and. Regular manifestation is just getting. I'm feeding my acquisitive appetite. The problem with that is you can become addicted to feeding your acquisitive appetite.
And that's why you could be getting tons of money and still be chronically unhappy. Because no matter how much money you get, you still feel you need more and more and more.
Feel lack.
So true manifesting is then where you are evolving as a self. Your identity is shifting and growing and evolving.
Yes.
And thus, you're in this cycle of perpetual personal growth.
You're in the cycle of evolution and unfoldment. Your individual soul is evolving, your oversoul is unfolding. And so it's perpetual, and this is where bliss comes into being. Bliss is the activation of our potential. So whenever we evolve and become more ourselves, whenever there's an unfoldment, we get a bliss hit. And so bliss is the function of us becoming more ourselves. Bliss doesn't come from something out there. Bliss is, I've activated some potential within me.
Oh, wow. That is such an interesting way of looking at it. So let's go on to the second idea. Wanting versus immature wanting.
Yes. We talked earlier about the fact that we're imprinted. When we come here, we're imprinted. And until we break free from that imprint, we often want things from an immature space. We think they're going to fill an emptiness within us, or we want them because they're popular. You know, certain things become all the rage, and everybody, they just want these things, and they want to manifest, they're going to want these things. That's different from mature wanting. Mature wanting comes with a sense of clarity about who we are and what we're becoming. And what we want adds to us delivering our gifts, our talents, our capacities. We don't just want things just to have them. The things we want become an extension of the expression of our soul. And there are many people, you see people who are like little kids. They just want all kinds of, little things, little baubles. Doesn't satisfy them but 5 minutes. But a true want comes from the depth of our being. And it ultimately ends up with, I want to be the best me I can be. That's where it ends up.
I love that. And when you say depths of our beings,
Yes.
right? Are you talking about the soul? Are you talking about that part of us that is connected to a higher power?
Yeah, we're talking about the indestructible, multidimensional, who we are, that soul that you are, that soul that I am. It's indestructible, it's multidimensional, it's forever. And there's so much there that wants to be mined, that wants to be activated, that wants to be set free. Our soul wants to be set free in its gifts.
So I want you to ask yourself, what would your life look like if you could move from immature wanting to wanting? So I know some of you might be thinking, look, I'm not ready to step into this like grand vision that my soul has painted for me because I have shit in my life right now that I need to fix. The thing is, when you step into this grander type of wanting, all that little stuff disappears.
Oh, absolutely. As you expand your awareness and your perception, the things that you're trying to manage, they become handled at your higher level of vibration. Yeah.
This brings us to 3. Point number 3, idea number 3, which is the one I've been waiting to have you talk about, and that is the power of surrender. More and more of my friends are coming to me and telling me that they are dabbling with this idea of surrendering to the will of the universe. I've been hearing, I was just on Necker Island, Richard Branson's island, on a mastermind of entrepreneurs, right? And everybody had to share a book that they were reading that was transforming their lives. And you know what was the most popular book? The Surrender Experiment. And these were from men who flew there in their private jet. They were talking about surrender, men and women playing at the highest levels of the world. But even that book, The Surrender Experiment, which is a great book, doesn't give you a path to get there. And one of the reasons we wanted to create this program with you is because you actually teach people how to get there. You teach people how to live in surrender. You have the best methodology I've come across and the ones that I use. Tell us about surrender.
Wow. We go back to my personal story in that moment that I surrendered to my destiny. I was surrendering to something within me that I could not yet see, but I knew was there. This is what surrender is not. Surrender is not giving up. It's not waving at the white flag and say, I give. No. Surrender is the consciousness of letting go, going to a space of non-attachment, not detachment, but non-attachment to an outcome based on your surrendering to a beauty, a life, and a joy that is beyond your comprehension. Now, detachment is, I give up and I'm not playing the game. Non-attachment is, I play fully, but I'm not connected to an outcome. I let the outcome form itself based on my play and based on my surrender. So what I have done over the years is brought surrender back into the metaphysical community because the metaphysical community had jettisoned it. We don't want surrender. We want to just manifest by our minds. We don't need to surrender. That's old religious stuff. But we reclaim surrender, not as a surrender to a God out there, but a surrender to a destiny in here. So the surrender carries with it meditation, you know, a paying attention to that which is real every single day until that which is real starts to permeate your awareness. So you're surrendering to the will of life, which is always for a greater expression of more life. You don't have to become a theologian to understand what the will of life is or the will of God is. If it's for greater life, that's the will of God. If it's not for a greater life, that's not for the will of God. You understand? So surrender is what makes you powerful. Surrender is what makes you pliable so that more life can flow through you. So there has to have a level of surrender. There has to have the learning to let go. There has to have the level of deep and abiding willingness. These are all qualities of surrender. Willingness, letting go, allowing. Yeah.
And the process that you teach in the new program with Mindvalley is really about that.
It's totally about that. Once you understand the 4 stages, and you somewhat master stage 2, there's a almost natural unfoldment of learning how to vision, you know, via the visioning process. And that's a deep state of surrender because, one, you can't get there on your own mental power. When I mean there, I'm talking about the bliss, the expanded awareness, the sense of joy, the perennial happiness not based on circumstance. That comes from an abiding letting go to what's already there. You can't see it yet, so trust is involved. You're letting go to what's already there, and then it becomes more real to you than the very chairs we're sitting on. Once you've tasted it, you can't go back. You can't go back. You can't go back. So the program actually, step by step, assists people into first having a cognitive awareness of what it is, like the map does, and then soulful practices that break down the egoic structure of clutching to your present paradigm to a slow releasing into the gifts that are already there within you, setting them free. And you learn to live a surrendered life.
And a surrendered life doesn't mean a life where you're not wanting anything. It doesn't mean a life of austerity.
No.
Right? It rather, what I've noticed when I've been able to move into these states is that it's a life that seems blessed by incredible luck, incredible opportunity, the right people, the right circumstances, the right synchronicities.
Yes.
Your rate of desire to synchronicity just goes through the roof.
Yes.
You think a thought, or you have an insight of something that you want to birth into the world, and moments later, the right person is on the phone with you, and you didn't have to go out there and struggle and push and strive.
You didn't have to give out your business card.
Right.
Yeah, because you said incredible luck. Luck is living under cosmic knowledge.
Oh, I like that.
That's what luck is. You start to live under this cosmic knowledge that's moving through you, and you're surprised by the good that flows into your life. I call it the glad surprise. You're surprised by it. It's like, wow, how did that happen? I didn't plan for that, but I met the right person. I didn't know that person even existed before I met them, but they're perfect to collaborate with what I'm trying to do. How did that happen? You were living a surrendered life. So then the presence, which is everywhere, gets to orchestrate rather than you and your little mind trying to orchestrate. You and your limited perception try to orchestrate, but you don't know all of this.
And I want to share an insight. I want to share something that happened when, in one aspect of my life, I moved into this state of surrender. Remember, there are 8 life structures, right? So you can be in different stages in each of these life structures. Now, with Mindvalley, I moved into a stage of surrender. What happened was that around 2.5 years ago, we had a department in the company where we had to go forth and try to convince authors to come and get published, to close authors. It was like a sales department. Many companies have it. I certainly woke up one day and decided I need to just shut this down. I just need to put out the intention that we're going to do an incredible job with every author, with every program we create, and the right authors would reach out. And mysteriously, over that next 1 year, coincidence after coincidence after coincidence happened. Neil Donald Walsh, one of my favorite authors, who I'd been trying to work with for 10 years and had said no, reached out. The Alan Watts program came to Mindvalley through an introduction from a guy who had stumbled upon my work and had worked at the White House and happened to know Alan Watts' son. All of these remarkable individuals, from you to Lisa Nichols to Jim Quick, emerged into Mindvalley. We had no sales department. And the company completely exploded. It went through the roof. Then I set out another intention and I surrendered to it. And that was, we want to bring Mindvalley to Fortune 100 companies and to governments. And the next thing we know, we're being invited to Google to train their team.
Right.
And then the lady who's been appointed one of the most powerful women in Malaysia ends up being a Mindvalley customer. Next thing I know, 2 weeks ago, me and my team were training 500 members of the government. And now more and more government divisions are reaching out to us. We never went forth to try to make this happen. It was an intention that came from something within.
That's right.
And it seemed as if the universe would mold itself around this idea, and effortlessly these things happen. And that's just why I'm so excited about being in this phase of surrender. Now, that said, you mentioned there are 8 life structures, right? And we can be in different levels in these different structures. And the program that we're creating with you is really designed to get you to move to stage 3 and 4 in all of these structures. But in my life, I'm not there yet. And in the health structure, I feel like I'm still in level 2 and sometimes level 1. And this is where I'd like to seek your help, because I bet you many of you listening, if you have some aspect of your health that you want to heal, I want you to pay attention to what you're going to experience now. Okay, so yes, I'm at surrender level most of the time at Mindvalley, but my damn knee is
you can't say
so hurting me. Yesterday, even meditating, sitting cross-legged would put me in pain. And I've been in physiotherapy, I've had expensive surgery. I can't seem to make this knee heal. And I know many of you listening probably have at least one aspect of your health or your body that you would love to heal. What would be your advice for me?
Well, first of all, you don't want to call it your damn knee. You want to begin to love and appreciate that knee.
I see what you mean.
You want to begin to absolutely give thanks that you can walk. You want to begin with gratitude. And then you want to be aware, how's your right knee? Mm-hmm. How's your right knee?
My right knee is amazing. It's perfect.
It's beautiful. Okay. So I do something called spiritual shape-shifting, which means that you begin to place your attention on the areas of your life, whether it's physical, or whether it's business, or whether it's relationship, that are working for you. And if you do that, you'll notice that there's an increase of energy in you. You'll notice that there's an increase in power. Mm-hmm. You begin to think about what's working in your life. You lit it, you simmer with it, you saturate yourself with it. And then, because everything is energy, that knee is energy.
Right.
You begin to shift that energy to the area of your life that is vibrating slower. And so you begin, so in your case, you would think about, you said your right knee was fantastic, it's beautiful.
Right knee's fantastic.
So you would think about that. My right knee is fantastic, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. Oh, I love it. Then you take that energy and you mentally bring it to the left knee. And you begin to allow the frequency of that fantastic, the beautiful, the wonderful to your left knee. And you see the left knee operating fine, but you're feeling the energy of the way you feel about your right knee. It's called shape-shifting. You do this on a regular basis because that's not just skin and bone. Mm-hmm. That's frequency, that's vibration. That's what that is. And so for some reason, the vibration has condensed itself into this slow to heal situation. You're going to speed it up. You see, we're in a quantum field. A quanta is a burst of light that moves so fast that you think things are solid, held together by perception and belief. So you're going to speed up the quanta, the spiritual field, by shifting your belief. It's no longer a damn knee, it's a beautiful knee, it's a wonderful knee, it's the same age as that knee. And shift the energy until that's what you're feeling and that's what you're seeing.
You're right.
And then you'll see this speed up, the vibe frequency speed up. And for some people, it happens really fast. Some people, it takes a period of time. Uh-huh. But it is better than cursing the knee.
You're right. I realized something. I was in victim consciousness, which is reflected in my language as well. I referred to it, when I spoke to you about it, I called it my damn knee.
Right.
You're totally right.
Right. And how many places in your life, I'm talking to you out there, do you refer to areas of your life as your damn knee, your damn financial situation, whatever it is?
Wow, that is so interesting.
Take your power back.
That is so interesting. I would have guessed that I might have been at level 2 in certain areas. I wouldn't think that I would be at level 1 in certain areas.
Well,
but that's insight, right?
Yeah, that's an awareness.
That's awesome.
You become aware. Now what's going to happen is because of awareness itself, it's going to change your relationship to the knee.
So this is a good time to talk about, well, firstly, I hope you guys got something profound out of that. I did, and I'm going to reflect on that idea more. What did you call it again? Being able to move? Shape-shifting.
Yeah,
That was the word,
spiritual
right?
shape-shifting.
Spiritual shape-shifting. Being
Now,
able to-
interesting enough, I did that with my left knee before, too. I was,
Yeah?
some dog attacked one of my dogs some time ago, and as I was trying to separate them and pull it back, I messed up my left knee. And it was like I was limping. It was really, I could feel it was bad. And so on the way home, I shape-shifted. I put my attention on my right leg, my right knee, and shifted it to my left knee. And by the time I got home, the swelling had gone down.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I caught it very quickly.
So at this point, I want you to ask yourself an honest question. Are you done? Are you happy with what you learned so far? To give you a quick recap, we spoke about the 4 levels. We spoke about being at the victim stage, and then going on to the manifestor stage, and how many of you might be at level 2, the manifestor stage, for some of your life structures. But there's a stage 3 and a stage 4. Stage 3 is where life is happening through you, and stage 4 is where life is happening as you. And as you elevate to stage 3 and stage 4, your world unfolds in a completely grander way. We spoke about how the little problems that you might be facing often disappear when you start going within, when inspiration is leading to your intentions. And we spoke about how you may not be at stage 2 or stage 3 or stage 1 equally for all of your 8 life structures. We can be at different stages for each structure. I gave the example of my health and how I was in a little bit of victim consciousness in terms of my health.
Right.
And you just helped me see that by even the language I was using. So we're going to share with you the 8 stages in a moment. First, I want to tell you the next level for those of you who are going to take this training deeper. I shared with you a story earlier. In 2016, when Michael Beckwith was on stage at AFS, he shared an idea with me. It was a single idea. It was a 1-hour talk, but there was this one idea that you put out in that talk, right? About how you were once almost drowning. And how you got yourself out of that state and saved your own life. And there was a powerful lesson there. That shifted the trajectory of my life because I started bringing in that concept into my manifesting. Basically, you spoke about asking your guides for help. That shifted my manifesting because I never thought about asking guides for help. And I know this is a topic that you cover in the advanced program. That one idea so shifted my life. I wrote a check of $15,000 as a donation to your church. And honestly, that idea probably was worth $1.5 million to me. I felt that $15,000 was just a beautiful thank you note just for that one idea. Now imagine, folks, imagine you are getting 35 of those ideas in this 35-day program. Every day, one key insight that shifts your life. So I want to invite you to not stop at what you've learned right now, because there's so much more you can learn. Imagine being able to move from stage 1 and 2 to stage 3 and 4 more consistently. Imagine being able to do this for not just one structure of your life, say your finance or your money, but for all 8 structures of your life, so that your health is getting better, your relationships are getting better, your career, your finance, your lifestyle, your livelihood. And that's really what our new program at Michael Beckwith is about. Now, what's beautiful about the program is that every day you're going to get a new insight. This is on the platform Mindvalley Quest, which is currently one of the highest performing learning platforms in the world. It's being used in governments. It's being used by Fortune 100 companies. It is one of our programs that's currently being tested in schools in Finland. And it is truly a remarkable program with a remarkable teacher. So you're not just getting Michael Beckwith, you're getting Michael Beckwith on this remarkable technology so that you can listen and learn every single day on your Apple TV or your iPhone or your Android device or your car. It uses a concept called behavioral modification so that every day we shift your behavior and your sense of identity a little bit more. Tiny tweaks that lead to a powerful new you at the end of 35 days. But there's some really cool aspects of this program. Number 1, world-class filmmaking and storytelling, so you enjoy every lesson. And number 2, you take this as a community. The class will start on the particular date listed below, and you'll be joining with thousands of other students. The Mindvalley community is crazy helpful when it comes to supporting each other. Everyone starts together, crosses the finishing line together and goes on that journey together. You will all be connected in an online community if you so wish, so you have peers and a support network. And that's why our programs have the highest completion rates in the industry, and why almost every major teacher now moves on to Mindvalley, and we're the platform of choice for Fortune 100, for government, and for schooling systems. So this is truly a remarkable opportunity to shift your life. Michael, give us an idea of some of the things you'll be covering in this program week by week.
When we go through the 4 structures, there'll be exercises that I'll be giving them. So it's not only conceptual, but we'll actually go into embodiments in which they'll be able to practice. Now, as you know, most people are the same, but what separates them is their habits. So the program is designed so that they'll be able to bit by bit change their mental habits, change the habits of how they speak, change the habits of how they meditate, so that at the end of the time, they'll actually be different. They can look at their journals from day 1 and look at the journal at the last day, and they'll see, oh, that person doesn't exist anymore, has been dissolved to a greater and greater degree. So in other words, we're not just giving information that informs, we're giving information that transforms one's life. And this is very important.
Wow, and you know what I like about that? When I was younger, around a couple of years ago, I decided that I was going to go to the gym and work out twice a week, right? 2 to 3 times a week. And I figured, I'm not going to pay a gym instructor. I'm a pretty brilliant mind. I'm going to read 2 or 3 books on weight training and bodybuilding. I'm going to figure this stuff out. No way I'm giving $2,000 to a gym instructor.
Right.
So I went and I worked out. And after the first 3 months, my performance started stagnating. But I continued trying to figure this out myself because I just didn't believe in gym instructors, right? 4 years later, I was just not improving. So I got, guess what, a gym instructor, a brilliant mind.
Personal trainer.
A personal trainer. And my personal trainer showed me what I was doing wrong. And I was doing it so wrong. In the next 1 year, I got nearly 10 times the results as I did in the prior 4 years. And I could have kicked myself for not bothering to invest just $2,000 in a gym instructor.
Right.
I mean, I wasted almost 3.5 years of useless activity in the gym, not doing things right, not understanding the science of muscle growth. Now, think about what you'd be spending on a program like this relative to what you get. Mindvalley programs, if you were to invest in them as a form of education, you'd be paying anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. But our programs, because of the economies of scale, we had 250,000 students last year alone enroll in these programs. Think about it, 250,000 students, right? Enrolling in these 30-day programs. Because of that, we bring down the price. And because we serve people all around the world, and we have customers in India, in China, the price has to be affordable. So when you scroll down below this video and actually check out the price, it's a fraction of what similar programs will cost. Let me give you an idea. Stanford just put up a program, one of their most popular MBA classes, and it is on basically tapping into consciousness, right? It's on the consciousness between human beings. Stanford students call this the touchy-feely course. You know what the enrollment price is? $5,500 if you take it by yourself. $13,500 if you take it with classes. Now, I believe this program is equally valuable because you're such a great teacher and Mindvalley's quality of teaching. But we make it available for a fraction of that price because of our economies of scale, because of the sheer number of students that go through Mindvalley every single year, and because our job is to touch 1 billion lives. So scroll down, check out the price, and you'll see how valuable this is relative to what you are going to be learning. Now let's actually take you through the program week by week by week. But before we do that, as I promised, here are the 8 life structures that we're going to be covering in this program. So I want you to take out pen and paper and write down these life structures, because this is a very important way of looking at your life. And in this program, Michael is going to show you how to advance to level 3 and 4 in each of these structures. The first one is spiritual.
Very briefly, spiritual and eternal mean the same thing. We're spiritual beings having a human incarnation. And until you understand that you are an eternal being, I'm talking about really understand it, then you're kind of just playing around in life. So we're going to cover that structure.
Now, the second one is the ego.
The ego, when that becomes optimized, that particular structure, it means you're no longer living as a we against them. You're no longer living to be equal, superior, or inferior. You have a healthy ego, which means that what you want for yourself, you want for everyone.
The third is relationships.
When that particular structure is stabilized, it means that you're no longer trying to get love from someone. You're basically participating in a field of love. And this is in all of our relations. We learn that we have to bring the love, the peace, the harmony to it rather than trying to get it from somebody. That's basically what we're going to cover.
You know, it seems that in each of these structures, it's way beyond just surrender. You're really giving us a new way to look at the ego, at spiritual ability, at relationships, aren't you?
Absolutely. Nuance is extremely important. And people are living in this world trying to think that someone can make them happy.
Right.
They need to hire a clown for that. Relationship means that you're working on yourself in a field of safety with somebody so that the happiness that's within you both can emerge.
Wow. Okay, now structure number 4 is body temple.
The body temple? The body temple is a place, obviously, where health, vitality, vigor, flexibility, all of this is very important. For what purpose? So that we can bring forth our giftedness with the body temple. When the body temple is stabilized, simply means it's not in the way of us living our best life.
Right, like my beautiful knee.
Right.
Next, livelihood.
Livelihood is finding your place in the world where you're sharing of your giftedness and your creativity. Some people would call that a job, but job sometimes is just over broke. We're not talking about a job. We're talking about a place where you love to go, where you're challenged to bring forth the creative energy within you.
I see, and that's why I was wondering about this, because livelihood and financial are two different things. Financial is number 6, so you separate.
I separated those two. Our financial life, we learn financial literacy, and oftentimes you are manifesting money, finances, that's supporting your creative endeavor. Sometimes your creative endeavor isn't where the finances are occurring, but you develop a sense of entrepreneurship, other areas of your life that you bring forth money into it, and it supports the rest of your life. So I separate livelihood from finances. So you may have a beautiful livelihood, but then again, you may have something else in which you're actually bringing in a lot of money.
You're right, and that's interesting, because a lot of people think it is our livelihood that must provide our finances, but you're saying that these are actually two completely different things. Your finances could actually support that gift that you're bringing to the world.
Absolutely. And particularly today, people need to think outside of the box where their finances are concerned. Right. Years ago, people thought just having a job was going to do it. Now you have to think a lot larger than that.
I see. Now, number 7 is beliefs.
Okay. As you're growing and unfolding, you begin to become aware of what you believe. Now, when you believe, when your belief is embodied, that means you no longer have to fight for your belief. You don't have to proselytize. You won't become a fundamentalist in your particular life, because a fundamentalist is an individual that is afraid that what they believe isn't so. So they have to go out and convince other people.
Right.
So when you really settle in to what you believe and it becomes, it's the truth, you can relax.
Wow. Wow. I'm so excited about the thousands of people who are going to be enrolling in this. Every day you spend with this program, you are creating a new version of you. And I know that 5 weeks from now, you will look back at who you were a month ago and be so proud at how far you've grown and the new realizations that you're going to get. Because when you start looking at things from this lens, when you start moving from level 1 and 2 to level 3 and 4, your life starts magnifying. It just starts multiplying and multiplying and multiplying in a way that you would never imagine. Because when you move into that state of surrender, it's as if life is happening to you with blessings being showered on you on autopilot. Even if you were a manifesting master, you possibly couldn't think of ideas and visions that bold and that bountiful. But what happens is your soul has a greater plan for you than what we can imagine.
Absolutely.
So that brings us to the 8th structure, community.
Community. We're all a part of a community. Our family is a community, the city in which we live. The community is a place where we get to really share our gifts. Compassion, kindness, love, justice, joy. We find a way to be a beneficial presence in the community. What can I contribute? And so when you have all those 8 structures stabilized, then there's joy, there's financial good, there's health, you're a contributing agent in the community, and life is magnificent.
Beautiful. I love that community is that 8th structure. And I love that you said we are a contributing agent in the community. This is really one of the reasons why we're so excited about this program. Because when people get out of the me-centeredness and are really speaking to their soul, it's always about we-centeredness. It's always about serving.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that increases the bounty and the level of luck that we get. And imagine billions of people doing this, right? How incredible the world would be because we would all be collaborating and serving each other with our gifts.
And service is the key word for community.
Right, service. Now let's talk about week by week. So, week 1, you're going to get introduced to the entire concept, the entire framework, in anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes a day. So you can listen to this as you're commuting. You can listen to this before you start your day. But you're going to get the entire framework. You're going to go deep into 4 stages of consciousness, authenticity and the 4 pillars of freedom, 5 foundational qualities, how the universe is progressive. You're going to learn about the 8 life structures and go a little bit deeper in all of those. That's just week 1. It's the foundational work. And in week 2, we move to removing every little bit of victim consciousness. Now, you might think that you've made it, right? But as you can see, even I realized I had that bit of victim consciousness in my body temple life structure. So we'll figure out where you might have that victim consciousness and help you elevate that level of thinking. Then we come to week 3.
So week 3, the outcome is that we're waking up with a deep sense of gratitude and thankfulness for our life. And we've now opened ourselves up to being able to declare and decree how our life is going to go,
Right.
but not with clinching, but with allowing it to take place. Real manifestation.
You decide where you want your life to go.
Yes.
It's coming from within. You declare, you decree, and you see it happen.
Yes.
Real manifesting.
Real manifesting.
And that's already by
True.
week 3. But again, that's not the whole end of it, because this is not a law of attraction or a manifesting course. It's so much more thorough. Now we come to week 4. And week 4,
This is
you said is about a deep sense of surrender
Right.
and the ability to live in the glad surprise.
right. This is the week in which we really embrace the nuance of surrender. We really go into deep understanding and practice of it so that we can open ourselves up to the glad surprise. That is, life is always surprising us as to how magnificent it is. And there's a certain zone we live in. And all of us have the capacity to do that.
Then we come to week 5. Tell us about week 5.
Week 5, the sense of separation between us and life begins to dissolve, and we live in what I call flow motion. And that is spontaneous goodness. There's a flow to life. Without us making something happen, we're making something welcome. It's a state of being rather than a state of doing.
That's phenomenal. I cannot wait for this program, Michael. I'm so excited. I wanted to create this program not just because we wanted to get a program out, because I believe in your work, but because I need this. I want to be able to stay at that level of what you call flow motion more often.
Absolutely.
And not keep going up and down, and to have that consistency in my life in all 8 structures. And maybe you do too. So think, why would you not invest in this program? What might prevent you from enrolling in this program? And if you're ready, just scroll down below and enroll. But if you have any doubts, here are some insights. First, you can try this program completely risk-free. So try it out for the first 10 days. And if you feel for whatever reason you need a refund, simply go to mindvalley.com/refund and refund yourself. We actually make it so easy because so few people actually take the refunds, because in the first 10 days, they realize how powerful these ideas are. Secondly, know that you're not going to be doing it alone. You're part of a supportive community. And our community gets so close with each other. Many people make lifelong friends within this community, which is why there are now Mindvalley meetups popping up, like in countries all around the world. And third, think about it. Why would you want to live life like everyone else, struggling, pushing, feeling like a victim in some different areas of your life, trying to set intentions and struggling to make them manifest? Why would you not want to move to level 4, to flow motion, to being blessed by luck and living a life where you are living your grandest vision for yourself? Life almost seems to happen for you in a beautiful way, auto-magically. That's really what we are talking about. And the time commitment isn't big because this program takes place in 5 to 20 minutes a day for 5 weeks. You can easily make that happen. And because the app is so easy to use, all you have to do is listen to it in your car while you're on the treadmill, while you're grocery shopping. You can easily make that time because you're already spending time doing those things. I listen to these programs when I'm driving. Now, when you scroll down below and click Enroll, here's what's going to happen next. Simply put in your credit card information, start the program. You will get an email with instructions on how to download the app. And if you're already a Mindvalley customer, it will automatically show up in your Mindvalley app. And it will also show up on your Mindvalley desktop. So if you do not have a smartphone, no worries, you can watch it on the desktop. If you have an Apple TV, you can download the Apple TV app and play Michael Beckwith in full HD glory. Now, the program is remarkably easy to use. When you start the program, you will be in what is called the warm-up phase. There'll be some beautiful inspirational videos there to watch, to warm up. And there will be a start date, and you'll see a countdown. And when the start date happens, automatically, at the same time across the planet, the program unlocks for thousands of students. Dive in, listen to day one, and if you wish, share your insights or read other people's insights in the community. The very next day, the app will ping you to open and watch day 2. At the end of 35 days, you are going to go through a remarkable transformation. It's that easy to use. Michael, anything else you'd like to add?
I can see them already in my mind's eye. And I can see the mask, the personality mask of separation and fear and worry beginning to crumble. And I can feel that emergence beginning to happen already, so I welcome them to the class.
I cannot wait to see and hear your stories. Now, I want to share with you some remarkable things that people have said about Michael's program. So Michael had a previous program on Mindvalley called The Power of Visioning. And that program we created in 2015. It was incredibly well reviewed, but our budgets wasn't as big back then. So Power of Visioning was basically done on webcam. It wasn't on the fancy Quest technology. It was a webcam class, but still, it changed so many people's lives. And what you're going to see here is the next level. This is like moving from a made-for-TV sitcom to a blockbuster Hollywood movie. So here's what our own audience wrote in to say about Michael. Karen Banks said, when I finished a meditation, and you're going to get these meditations in the program as well, I experienced this profound sense of knowingness. This program brought me out of a very, very dark place. Doug said, cleared some of my old behaviors and assumptions about life and me. I've stopped using old stories as an excuse to not be prosperous. Natalia wrote in to say how this program helped her take responsibility for her own life and how she responds to circumstance. She said it was an absolutely mind-blowing experience of awareness. And we're getting letters from incredible people around the world. Dr. Deborah Triump, who's president of Prime Performance Strategies, PhD in Industrial and Organizational Psychology, said, help me to understand the events that have still affected me and gave me a process for dealing with them. Think about what that would mean for you. Anita Smith said, it helped me understand my own uniqueness and to own it with pride. So we get hundreds of letters like this from Michael Beckwith's programs on Mindvalley. And imagine, one day, one of those people might be you. Michael?
You know, the greatest investment an individual can make is in themselves. Because once you invest in yourself, which you're inviting them to do, then all the things they think they want from a mature level, they begin to happen with much greater ease. You have to invest in yourself first, and this is an investment in oneself.
Thank you, Michael. So thank you, all of you, for listening and for going through this program. And I want you to look back at that note I asked you to write earlier, that emergent self, that person you kind of felt you wanted to be. And I want you to remember this. If that vision of yourself keeps coming over and over and over again, you probably don't want to ignore it, right? Sometimes we ignore it because we feel it's out of alignment with, what our family or our friends or our co-workers might say. Sometimes we feel it's too big and we can't get there. But could it be that this program might finally give you the tools and the mental models and the wisdom to get you to that emergent self that you wrote down? Think about what that would mean for your life and the lives of everyone you touch. So scroll down below. Can't wait to see you enroll in this program, and I'll be seeing you in the tribe. Welcome to Mindvalley, and welcome to our newest Mindvalley hit program with Michael Beckwith. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you for the invitation. It's my joy.
And thank you, everyone, for turning up for this masterclass, for taking such good notes, and I will see you in the program.